Hey guys, isnortbooze here for Betcoin Poker with an all-new WSOP-themed episode of Tipsy Talk. That's right, the World Series of Poker is right around the corner with the first event kicking off next week. And today I have a very special guest, 2015 WSOP November Niner and third place finisher who took home a cool $3.4 million for his efforts, Neil Blumenfield. Thanks so much for joining us, Neil.
Hi, Scott. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it, man. You are out of the software game completely now, yeah?
I am, other than what I run on my computer. Yes, I am.
Full-time poker player?
I'm full-time semi-retired, so I'm playing some poker for sure. And the fact that I don't have a real job makes me a professional poker player, I guess.
Yeah, well, I've seen you've had like 6 or 7 cashes already this year, so and including a couple really nice ones.
Yeah, this year has actually gone pretty well. I've had a couple of good final tables, a couple other deep runs. So this year is going better than last year did for sure.
Cool, man. So as a technology guy, and you know I'm working for a Bitcoin poker site, any chance you were able to score some Bitcoin early on, and that's going to help you with this retirement?
I wish. That's one thing that I didn't invest in early on. Didn't know it well enough to invest in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's something where I guess a lot of us wish, hindsight 2020 type of thing.
Indeed.
So Neil, let's talk about 2015, man. When the final table was gearing up, no one really knew what to expect out of you. You did have some decent success prior to the event. You won the 2008 State of Nevada Poker Championship, but no one really knew what to predict would come out of you. And then you come out firing the way you did, man, with your 3 and 4 betting pre-flop with not so premium holdings. How would you describe your style of play?
So my style of play in November was maybe not 180 degrees, but certainly more than 90 degrees from where it was in July. Turns out that was one of the last years of the November 9, which is, I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I definitely took advantage of the time to work, and it's not only getting to be a better player, but it's prepping for a very, very specific situation where you know so much. So there's no other time where you can go into a final table and know as much as you know going into November 9 table. So not only did I know who everybody was, where I was sitting, what the chip stacks were, but I was able to go through a lot of hand histories and understand tendencies. And also, when I was working on my game, one of the things that we figured out pretty quickly, and Amir Leavat, who's the coach that worked with me all through that time, kept telling me we have a big edge because, people are not going to expect the way you're going to play. They're going to be caught off guard. And there really wasn't anyone else who was going to be in that position. So in terms of the amount of, increased edge based on time off, I was probably at the top of that ladder. And I also honestly had the most gain to be made because I was probably the weakest player at the table, at least as of July I was.
To touch further on the discontinuation of the November 9, pretty much across the board, from what I read, most people were in favor of it. I noticed on your Facebook page, you were one of the very few people who was actually, disappointed about the ending of November 9. I guess that's based on your experience.
Yeah, it's mostly personal. I think there's, for the people that are there, I think it's a big deal. Although I think even some of the people that were at my table would say that getting rid of the lag is good. I know Max thought that. Of course, Max was much more prepared to go to the final table in July than I was, so I can understand that. So, for me, and yeah, it may be an outlier opinion, but I think that the advantages are, one is it creates a much more entertaining show. So ESPN is able to build up to the final table by putting together, very well edited segments, of not only the play leading up to the final table, but also about the players. And Kelly Minkin became a star from the coverage of her, even though she didn't actually make the final table. So there's real benefits there. I think it also increases the quality of play pretty dramatically. So I certainly wouldn't have played as well if I had a 1 day rest instead of 3 months. And I'm not talking about the physical stress. I'm talking about the preparation.
Right.
And I think that's probably true for most people. I think most people at the table got some coaching, and I think most people played better and were more prepared to play in November than they had been in July. So I think the quality of play is better. The entertainment value is better. People don't really like to watch live poker that much. They prefer to watch the edited versions. So, for most people, when the final table was aired in its edited version, following up the lead up episodes, a lot of people didn't know who had won or what the results were. So it was just more entertaining. And personally, for me, it was just those 3+ months were a gas. I mean, I had so much fun. I mean, we worked really, really hard, but it was a ton of fun. The interviews, the media, all that stuff was great. Going into poker rooms and being kind of a celebrity was so cool. And the other big thing for me is it gave me time to put together a really nice party for 100 of my closest friends.
Right.
And I think that's not going to happen if you have 1 day. You're just not going to get all those people there. So I really enjoyed it. I liked it, and for me, maybe more than anyone else, the experience was special because I was able to, really, really change the way I played the game.
One other thing that's generated a lot of discussion on Betcoin is the live feed with the 30-minute delay. Is that something you feel is like a big hindrance? Since people are kind of able to figure out the way you play at a faster rate, normally they have to, wait until they see a few showdowns, that type of thing. How do you feel about that?
That I'm pretty comfortable with. Everybody has the same information. Everybody has people watching the feeds. So, when you 3-bet with Queen 8, you know very well that in 30 minutes everybody's going to know you did that. So sometimes it's nice that the next 3-bet is with pocket aces, so they don't think you're just totally out of your mind. But everybody has the same information, and I think it's good. I think, having been an observer also of the final table, it would be much less interesting to me, honestly, if I saw it, 3 days later or whatever, than with the 30-minute delay. It's almost live, and you're getting information as it becomes available. Otherwise, for people like me, I would know the result before I ever watched it, and it would be less entertaining.
Right. Yeah, I agree, man. I think it's definitely good for the game, man. Same disadvantage, same advantage for all players. And you just have to make your adjustments based, a little bit differently than you normally would.
Yeah, and it's also critical to have a team that you work well with, and that's something else you can develop over those 3 months. So Amir and Ron Welch and Matt Stout and Tom Marchese and those guys and I worked really well together. So and Amir is such a good guy, such a smart guy. He didn't have to. I didn't expect nor want him to tell me all of the information that he had. He was able to edit it out and tell me, here's the key things to know. Here's what happened in that hand. Here's what he did there. And then, at the end of the day, we went through that stuff more. So it was very useful, but it requires, being in a pretty good working relationship with your team. You can't do it off the cuff with just somebody that's sitting there.
Right. I saw an interview with you where you said that anyone can have success at poker as long as they put in the work, which I felt like was, a really refreshing attitude. Now that a lot of pros are saying poker's dying, poker's dead, that sort of thing. Where do you see poker headed over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see where online goes in the next 10 years, not only just in terms of regulations. And I think one thing that I was also outspoken about a couple of years ago was the U.S., making it difficult for American players to play online. I thought was a big detriment to American players. But with what's going on now with tools and computers becoming more and more capable of high-level analysis of poker situations, the heads-up game is pretty much solved for GTO. So it's pretty hard to beat a computer heads-up, and that was proven about 4 months ago. Obviously, as soon as you add a third player, the complexity goes up logarithmically. So when you get to a full table, it's a different game. But I don't know how long it's going to take the computers and the algorithms to catch up. And it would be a shame, but I think it's inevitable that at some point online poker is more like online chess, where the other guy has a computer that he's running the simulations on. It's going to be hard to beat. But I think we're a little bit of ways off that. One of the nicest things actually about online poker is that it stimulates the live game. So I think the live game has been a little bit flat for the last 5-6 years. And a revival of online I think would be a good thing. So I've been playing the game a long time. I've been playing in casinos for a long time. So I do remember back in the day when I was in my 20s and I would go to Las Vegas to play. It was hard to find a game. I mean, most casinos did not have poker. So I used to play at the Stardust, which was, I don't know if it was the casino used as the basis for the movie Casino, but if it wasn't, it was damn close. I mean, it was clearly, it was a mafia kind of place.
Yeah,
it was really dark. It's not the kind of place you want to get on the bad side of people in the pits. But it was the only place you could find a game, and I was playing, Limit 7-Card Stud because that was the only game being played. And when online became more popular, all of a sudden the live game just boomed. I mean, literally boomed. I mean, a whole new world. So now, the nice casinos that never had poker, Bellagio, whatever, the Wynn started having big poker rooms. And I think a lot of people in the brick and mortar casino business have forgotten how big a boon online was to the live game. So those guys should be promoting the hell out of online poker. But anyhow, I think we need to figure out something in this country about how to make online doable while it's still a playable game. Otherwise the live game will continue to be pretty flat.
Yeah. Changing topics a bit, Will Kassouf, one of the most controversial stories, of course, at last year's WSOP. What are your feelings, man, about, speech play and basically his strategy of, annoying people to get information or to tilt them into, increasing his chip stack any way he can?
So there's multiple answers to that question, and the first one is, had there been no lag from July to November, you wouldn't know who Will Kassouf is. It would have been mostly missed. So that's one thing. Second is, I think Will is 90% of the time entertaining, and it's good to have some entertainment in the game. People love Negreanu because he talks and he's a good guy, and everybody likes to hear the chatter. It's much more interesting to watch the game when people are actually talking and having some fun. I think poker is a very social game, so I've been accused of talking too much myself at games, but in a very different mode, I think, than Will. So I think that's the positive side. The negative side is I don't appreciate some of the tone, which is, attacking, berating, kind of stuff. I don't think that's needed. I don't think that's needed to get the kind of information he's trying to get. And honestly, I think Will gave out more information than he actually retrieved.
It's possible.
At least when he was playing with good players.
Sure.
So when he's playing with amateurs, I'm sure he did get more information than he gave out, and so be it. That's part of the game. But the other biggest problem with it is it just made the game so damn slow. So him talking for 2-3 minutes before making what people seem to be obvious decisions is just annoying. And the speed of live play is one of the challenges to the game. So we've talked about shot clocks and all that kind of stuff. It's one good thing about playing senior tournaments. They're really fast. People don't think about what they're doing; they just go. So I think that's the biggest downside to the Will Kassouf story, is just slowing down the game.
I think most people would agree with you there for sure. So what's your plans for this summer, man? You heading out to Vegas?
I am. I'm heading to San Francisco in a week to celebrate birthdays and graduations. So Pascal's oldest daughter just had her birthday a couple of days ago. Her youngest daughter is graduating high school this week. Pascal's birthday and my birthday are both early June, so we're going to do all that. She's closing her shop, so she's having a closing party for Pascaline Paris on June 8th. So we're doing all that, and then on the 9th I head to Vegas for about 2 weeks. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. And then I'll probably spend a little more time in San Francisco and Florida, and then back for the Maine.
Cool, man. Hopefully I'll see you out there. I'm going out for a couple weeks this summer too. It's tough to get away from the kids, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and stay as long as I can this year.
Yes, one good thing about having no kids and no job is it leaves the schedule pretty open.
Oh yeah, man. So you mentioned Pascaline Paris, man, June 8th. You wanna plug that real quick?
Yeah, so Pascaline Paris is the shop that Pascal's had in San Francisco for, I guess going on 4 years. 4 years or 3 years. Anyhow, she sells fashion from Paris, and she does her own designs, which she's been doing for the last year or so, which are really nice. So she'll continue some of that when she moves to Florida, but she's selling out all her shoe inventory and all her clothing inventory through the month of June, and then she'll be able to move out here, which is good.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, Neil, thank you very much for joining us. You can find Neil on Twitter, NRB1, yes?
That's it.
So, for Betcoin Poker, I am isnortbooze, and this has been another Tipsy Talk.
Thanks, Scott.